Yeah, I'm just started to record now. And then the people from Milan University, then they're going to talk about what are they going to do. Is it okay? So then just wanted to quickly describe the situation. We decided the previous assembly that Museum of K is going to be led by, not by the one person or group of permanent people, but it will lead by the curators, and every curator or curatorial group will bring a project. And we don't know how we're going to choose the curators. We don't know how we're going to transfer between the one curatorial term to another. That's all up for discussion. But the first curatorial team supposed to be a Russian group, because it was the kids who were in danger. And it looks like now they hopefully they're fine, but they're still under arrest, and it's not guarantee or sure that to make them curators of the foreign institution would actually help them. So that was the concern, because of course the major gesture was to try to help them, and of course not to produce any harm towards them. And so Andris and Paola came around, and I think we just discussed that the same things as was going on in Russia and was going on in San Francisco with our friends from Visual Assembly Group, and so on and so forth, is actually everywhere in the world. So during COVID times, people were deprived of meeting with each other, universities closed, but many people come up with the different and actually very progressive initiatives. And so it will be really amazing to map it and also put together an anthology and a conference that will provide this information to everyone. So maybe I will I will introduce Paola or Andreas. What is the best way to do that? Andreas, okay, he's here. Maybe he can start. Yeah, I just want to say funny things about Paola. Actually, like a year ago, David and I got some presents from unknown people, and they were very cute. It was like pencils with a special name and so on. And it was like, wow, that's fun. People are sending letters. Now this is something that you actually can use. And it's now that was Paola. It's like, yeah, the world is very small.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, I actually just introduced you, so it's your time now.
Thank you. Already, immediately. Okay, hello, everybody. And Nika, I just wanted to ask you about the link, because students said that they couldn't get in. I was wondering if there was a
Couldn't
problem.
get what?
With the link for the Zoom, because the students couldn't get in.
Couldn't get in. No, I think a lot of students are getting in.
Okay,
I think
great.
we already like 17 people.
Right. Okay, so it should work. Okay.
But I can send a link again, just in case.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
Andris, I put the link, the correct link.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right, so I'm fine. I was taking care of that as well. So that's why I'm back. Right. So yeah, I missed the introduction, Nika. So it would be my turn to present the whole idea.
Yeah, I just said quickly that like you guys like a first curatorial team.
Yes.
For this 2 or 3 months, and we're going to put this roundtable or conference and hopefully an anthology that will take longer, maybe a year to produce. But I just introduced the major idea in our conversations and explained that it's supposed to be a Russian team, but we decided that it's actually probably not a good idea for them. And so, yeah, thank you for coming to rescue.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so hello everybody, and I've participated in several meetings already, so maybe we are sort of familiar. I'm Andris, I'm based in Milan, and I'm a teacher of visual arts and curatorial studies. Curatorial studies is my course, and during this course, like during the pandemic, we came up with this project which is called the Critical Studies Department, which is a kind of a fake department that was born out of different kind of references and ideas. One of those was, of course, this kind of fake university that Walter Benjamin with his friend Scholem created when they were young. So then there were other kind of references, which were, for example, we started or we departed like reading together a text, which is, I believe, a very beautiful reference as well by Alexander Trotsky, which is called Invisible Insurrection of a Million Minds. And that's another kind of, that text always kind of fascinated me, and it was really great to read it with the students, because his idea, like he was part of the situationist group, and his idea was to create this kind of worldwide network of different people, really like intellectuals, but not just, who could like then share their knowledge and through that kind of inflict an important change in the society. So we departed from there, and then we were discussing on which could be, on what kind of forms of like kind of collective production of knowledge, curating we could come up with during the pandemic when we were all closed, each one in his home. And we came up with this kind of idea to create this platform, which has just started, and so we are very honored, Nika, actually, that you give us this incredible opportunity to join in and actually to be the first platform that could sort of take care of the curation of the Museum of Care. And I was thinking today, like really like how to present and where could we start from. And I hope that, so first of all, I think our intervention should be like very kind of delicate, because it's the first time someone kind of takes it, or you sort of are allowing someone to take care of this project, which is already running for a year. And I know that many people have been involved in first person. So our intention is really like not to kind of take, like just to facilitate somehow the project rather than really to curate it. That would be the first thing I would like to say. And I hope we can do that by really like thinking together about the way how we can sort of what it means actually to curate such an initiative, and how could we do that. I talked to students, and I talked to my colleagues, for example, Zasha, Colah, and other people whom I would be very happy to actually invite, and then they will join later on, or they will join us during our discussions, and they can contribute. But the idea was where it really, like, I also became very enthusiastic, and I think everybody, and also the students, when we started with Nika to discuss about this possibility to do a kind of a map about educational or anti kind of institutions and educational activities that have spread now during the COVID, but also that have been existing for quite a while, and sort of to do this, like to work actually, like we would facilitate the Museum of Care for these 2 or 3 months and try to come up from our side as our contribution with this map of different educational initiatives. And I hope that we could really map not just like kind of already well-known initiatives, but maybe also the kind of student initiatives that have been, that have sort of came to the fore recently, or we could also try to map some territories, like Zasha could help us to map, for example, India a little bit, and archive books in Chiara Figone. She's actually based in Senegal, partially, so she could maybe suggest us what is going on there. And I know that we have a very international kind of membership already, so I hope it would be really great if we could, as a first thing, discuss like what could be the right form to somehow create sort of a database. I don't like the word, but I don't know how to put it otherwise, like kind of to create a list or a kind of data from which we could start, so that we could start to create and this map, and then perhaps to speak about the criteria which kind of institutions should we map, and how, what are the criteria for including someone or not, and so on and so forth. And I hope that we could really like grasp maybe also some kind of less conventional educational activities, artist groups, maybe some kind of indigenous groups or kind of non-professional artists, and not necessarily people linked to the academic world. And so that would, like, ideally, that's at least how sort of I immediately envisaged it, and I think, and I would be very glad to hear how your kind of opinion. I know that part of the Museum of Care, there are many already existing initiatives, such as Friends of Virus and other kind of initiatives that have worked throughout the whole last year, that have participated actively in the organization of the carnival, this commemoration, which happened last year. So we would be very glad to open a kind of a dialogue with everyone, and really to hear kind of your ideas from here onwards, and we'll try to do our best, like to really manage the project in a delicate way, and not really like kind of imposing anything, but really like having a dialogue, a constructive dialogue with all of you, so that we can really understand if it works at all, and how it could work, like to really take to curate a museum of care. That's an interesting kind of very ambitional project, you know. I mean, and how actually this could be done. I mean, this is the first time. So curator is nice. Somebody wrote in the chat that we should call it curator. Yeah, maybe that's what we should adopt. Maybe we should really like also think about like what actually curating means, and especially now, and how like to talk a little bit about the lexicon that I know you want to sort of elaborate, but really to think of what kind of lexicon we use as well, like when we and where this project and how could it develop. So these are just some little remarks that with which I think we could start today's discussion, and then I don't know if our students would like to add something. They are here, they're numerous. I know that they will be kind of really doing their best, and will take a good care of the Museum of Care, or at least we'll try to do so. All right, so I think that's enough from my side. So, I don't know, Nika, would you like to maybe to comment on what I said, and then maybe then...
I think Anka wants to comment.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I had a question about time. So just before you joined us on Zoom, we were thinking about, slowing down.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking how, in a way, the idea of having curatorial teams taking over and having a rotation system every 3 months seems long, in a way. I don't know what everyone else thinks about time, how we could, that maybe doesn't have to be a specific time initially. It's 2 months.
I think 2 months, because also in August, at the end of August, it will be visual assembly and commemoration of David. So maybe 2.5, but it's all up to the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think is not decided. This was like, I think it's the first attempt, so it should be decided like together with you. So yeah, I think we talked about 2 months, and then we could organize a kind of an event, like first thing about this kind of map of educational activities. So that was the idea.
I just want to say that I think we can use the same kind of technique that's worked very well during the carnival, when we put very simple short statement and we just spread it around.
Yeah.
And I imagine that the same people from 250 places that was part of the carnival, we can just send it to them first of all. And then we have this very simple Google map where we can put dots. And I
Sure.
don't think we should be strict in the decision who is coming in and out, because if somebody just, put a homeschool in, I don't know, in Iran, and Sevda is not here, and she's teaching, like, I don't know, maybe some kids from your street, let's, let's call it also an educational place. I don't think we should, in this situation, we can keep like the community. So that's my opinion, but I don't know. Maybe we should be like very strict, and uh, maybe some commercial schools will come with, I don't know, beauty concept. Is it it's an educational institution? So what is education actually, and what is reproduction of culture if we will be like really radically allowing everybody to come in?
Yeah. And I can see Zasha is also here. Hello, Zasha. So yeah, she's one of my colleagues, and she agreed kindly to join and collaborate also for these 2 months, but I hope also afterwards. So and one of the good examples where I wanted also to involve Zasha was her project, which was called the Clark House. So I don't know if you just want to. Maybe I should say 2 words about that, and actually that initiative, which was started by you, ended up in there was a kind of an attempt, or there have been an attempts to map the kind of artist groups, and maybe we could also use that as a kind of reference in order to understand how we could work with the educational groups. So I know it's just you could present in 2 words and then as a kind of reference. Maybe.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This seems to be such a special group and coming together for such special reasons. I was really happy to join, and Andris and I share some passion for facing these anarchic groups. I guess in Bombay, we were a union of artists and a collaborative of curators, I guess, and really trying to break through a lot of the caste problems in the art world that are still there, even though the caste system supposedly is abolished and doesn't really exist. In terms of the law, it exists socially very, very much so. And so, and various kinds of political things we were dealing with in India, that in a way it was a very innocent time, even though it was just 10 years ago, and it's been going on ever since. What we see now is a complete overhaul of a fascist Indian right wing, where Clark House almost has crawled to a stop. It's been a bit depressing, or gone really, really underground. But we always had a kind of police van parked outside our exhibitions. But it's a different time where people are actually being harassed in different ways. So, and not for doing very much, just for speaking about kind of very neo-colonialist trends that India is following with regards to Kashmir, with regards to the northeast of India, the Naxal movement. We at some point in these 10 years, we were extreme. We had a lot of energy, and we were very, very angry, and with everything. And so that's what Clark House Initiative was, and it was a space. It was a kind of very intriguing old antique store that we first started to just inhabit. But made friends with people, and it went on for about 9 years, and recently they took another space, but this was really in the heart of the city. Yeah, I can write it for you. Clark House Initiative. Clark House was just the name of the building where we met, where we had our shows, where we lived often. There was always, you could come to Clark House and knock on the door at 2 p.m, and someone would take you through the exhibition. And, because there was always somebody in a city like Bombay. If you miss your last train home, this was a place to go to. and many of us just would install through the night and then just stay over. So that's the kind of place we were in. At the same time, many of us had normal jobs, like working in museums, but Clark House became so important to all of us that we actually left those jobs to just do Clark House initially. Yeah. Then I moved to Italy, and long before that, we'd handed over kind of the programming and ideas about what to do next to some of the other artists in the group, and I developed these very fluid forms of gift exchange. Sorry, I'm going on about it because it's like a bit of a memory lane, but yeah, just to give you an idea of what kind of place it was. There was no money, there was no support, no financial support in any way, except maybe a few projects, but we never had any kind of institutional support or any of those things. It was really, we refused funding very often because we wanted to do different kinds of political work, and we thought this would, firstly, we didn't want to write funding applications at all, ever. And we felt we would rather earn the money elsewhere and put it in. And then we also used a great skill set, because one person was very good with video, one person was very good with electricity, one person was very good with carpentry, somebody would write, somebody was good at programming. And for everybody's individual dream project, we would make it happen by just giving time and energy and the limited money resources we had. And that this could continue for 10 years, I feel really happy about that. This kind of economy, which was, one of the members was an economist as well, like had studied economics. So this was definitely part of it as well. Okay, that's Clark House, and that's my background in a way.
And I think it could be also very useful for our project. So now, sorry.
Simona, you want to...
Sorry. Good evening. Nice to meet you. I live in Bologna, so we'll have opportunities to meet in person, I hope. I wish to separate in this meeting the discussion about your project, the project you'll take forward in this 2 or 3 months, and what being a curator for a museum of care actually means. I mean, very practical tasks like scheduling meetings and activities, update the website, invite people, keep staff together in a way. In a project that is as open as possible. It's the beauty of the Museum of Care is really that people jump in, jumps out, and it's totally free and without any form of bureaucracy or power, finally. And so this is what I expect from a curator. This is what Nika did all these months, and in the last 2 months when she was busy with bureaucratical and boring stuff in her life, we all felt her lack. We all felt the consequences of not having her as a core curator for the museum. Even if Vasily or Anka or Matt did a lot for our projects. So I would like to split the assembly in 2 moments. Now we go on with the description of what your group will do with your project, and also self-presentation. I'm very keen to know everything about you. But then we need also to discuss what should be assigned as a task to the curators, and how do we ensure continuity to the project. In my opinion, 2 months is even not enough, because you need some time to enter the issues, and maybe we could have we need somebody or some way to ensure continuity, and also change. We need to take these two together, so we could have a longer period, but some sovrapposizione, ditemi somebody, overlap.
Due to exposition, yeah, overlapping.
Overlapping of curators, or have one person that stays and ensures, I repeat, just practical stuff like scheduling meetings and curating the many rooms and projects that the museum already has. Sorry for having been so long, but this was a mozione d'ordine.
Yeah, maybe I suggest, because we have kind of like a natural core group, people who is always there, and maybe we can divide between us some responsibilities to make sure that, you know, Zoom is always working and the website is updated, and, you know, and then depending on the ideas of curators, we can allow and provide a framework that they can use. For example, we have a database of the addresses where we can send the invitation to map the initiative. It's a lot. It's kind of like hundreds of like really good addresses, and they will be responsible to collect answers and you know, put them online. I already did this map. It's very simple. It's like Google Map, and I sent the link to Paula and to Andris, and they can share it among them. Also, I totally agree with Zasha about fundraising. We also decided to avoid bureaucratization or any fundraising in the Museum of Care, but I don't think it's bad to fundraise for the specific projects. For example, I don't know, like you guys brought this, it's a publishing house here, the archive, for, yeah. So maybe we can talk about that, and maybe all together we can fundraise for the anthology, for the book, and for whatever kind of expenses will be around its creation or distribution or presentation. So that's how I feel it could be productive, but not we wouldn't become an institution.
Sure, absolutely. I think, yeah, you're correct, and we should. But also, as Simona said, maybe we should really think of somehow dividing, because I think there is this like kind of ordinary kind of taking care of Museum of Care, and then there is this additional project. Archive Books is an initiative which is once again based in Milan, which could help us with the second project about the map of education, especially about the publication. And I think in that case we could indeed absolutely try to fundraise, and then really to in order to kind of self-sustain like any initiatives that we have. And about the rest, I think that what maybe I didn't explain, that this collective critical studies department is a collective, and I think today we have like 5 or 6 students, but there are many students involved. So we talked already, and they could help to facilitate also this kind of organizational part, and if we could have also some contact with Anka or with Simona, with someone who has like experience about, let's say, these everyday activities of the Museum of Care in different groups, so we could just be a kind of a tool through which we could help on that, and then start working on parallelly on this second project. So this was the intention, I think.
Can I also comment? So I also want to say that look, so David was mostly a teacher. That's how he made money. That's many people knows him as being a professor, and of course he, as many other people in academia, he was very unhappy with all the bureaucracy in academia, and especially in London School of Economics, he was kind of not complaining, but feels sad that he has to majority of his time he's training the Chinese students who doesn't know English well, you know, to write something in English. And he was like thinking, okay, if I would only be able to speak in Chinese with them, probably it will be much more productive anthropological studies. But he also was dreaming if he wouldn't need to make money at all, he would just go ahead and create a free university, you know, just a university that you can only teach. You don't have grades, like you don't have any administration, you know, you just put together books and put together lectures, and you know, it's all done in between students and professors, and they can switch side because maybe some students know something else, professors doesn't, and so on. So I think ideally that type of spaces that David was dreaming about, but many people think it's good. It would be amazing to have. That's what we try to mark.
Yeah, this sounds really good, and I'm trying to read the chat just parallelly. Yeah, I think we should also relate absolutely to perhaps this idea, and I think this this proposal from Nika was born out of this, like, let's say, this legacy also of David, and I think, yeah, we should. Therefore, I really think it's interesting to think towards like what kind of forms we could now, we are forced still to be connected online, and what are the possibilities, like how far and what can we create, like in this, like being still physically, like kind of not together, but still talking one to another, like here in Zoom. So just to think about that, and maybe, yeah, reflect on first of all the map, and then what can we do with this map, like afterwards. Maybe it can become a tool really to reflect on how you can produce knowledge in a totally different way, let's say, maybe. So yeah. But so how, sorry, Nika, about this, let's say, ordinary administration, how do we want to deal with that? So shall we talk about it now, here, or what's, like, maybe someone could comment on that.
So in the beginning, I suggested we just put a Word file, like Google Doc, and because we have time and we don't know like how it's all going to be. So I was suggesting we just put together ideas and everybody editing this Google Doc. As I said, this is, I think, like the core group of Museum of Care now is about 10 people. It's not like 50 people. So we can just go and discuss things there and divide them on this chapters. Like I think Anka almost come up with like lexicon now, and like housekeeping, for example. That's really yeah, very useful. It's exactly how I felt myself. Like, you know, don't forget to turn on the Zoom, write the what was Claire was doing in the beginning, Claire Farrell is writing an agenda meeting and so on. So I think we can do it on Google Doc because it also will be organized and we will see who comments what, and we will have time to think. That's my proposal, not to do it now. but more kind of concentrated on the events in the next 2 months, because we're actually talking about 2 assemblies. One assembly is preparational assembly at the end of June, and another assembly is the round table where we want to invite a really cool people. And some of these people, I think, could be from the Museum of Care, like I think Simona herself can say a lot about different activities that she was involved in. You know, I think we should talk about the reading group in the Museum of Care with Vasily, and I want to invite people from Russia who was teaching kids in prison, teenagers, Russian teenagers who studying in prison, or living in prison, basically. I think that's like an amazing thing to explore, because it's basically a crime that is going on legally. And not only in Russia, also in the US, but so on and so forth. So I would just suggest we throwing out a lot of ideas about these 2 months, because I think it's an amazing opportunity to have a new group of people come with the project that may stay in the Museum of Care. Because if this map will be workable, if it will have a value, then it's not going to disappear. People will use that, you know, after that.
I have a question about the map. Like, is it like a geographical map that you're thinking about of there's this type of education activity here at this place, or is it a kind of conceptual, you know, kind of connected map of this group does this type of stuff, or like how do you see that looking?
I just suggest to do the same as we did with Carnival, but maybe again, over these 2 months, it could develop in something else, because it's very easy to do it with Carnival. For example, we can put, you know, Museum of Care anywhere in the world. We just call it Museum of Care. That's it, because we know where. But some people, let's say Russian kids in prison, they have a place. And also the place in Bombay that Zasha was describing also have a specific location. So we just start easy. And this map that anybody can edit. So we have a couple of editors. I already share the access with Colah, I think, and with Andris. And then you can just add new editors as you go along, you know. And ideally, we want to have a lot of places on this map, because education happens everywhere. We just don't call it education. That's my opinion. And yeah, hopefully we will find a lot of amazing spaces. I don't know, Andres, for example, 16 Vivas, what are they doing every week?
Of course, sure.
Educational space.
Yeah. And a part that I was like really thinking before that since we have like this critical studies department is mainly run by the students, maybe we should really like see what has been created by the students, like, and what is their response to the whole situation, because I think they are the first people to be like directly affected by what is going on in the like academic environment. So, and it would be great if we could sort of really facilitate also them to kind of find a forum and give the voice to students, let's say, not just like, for me that's the main kind of ambition also, like really to map what are the new activities that have arisen throughout this period as well.
Should we propose to talk to the students? How about Paula?
Yes. Okay. Hello to everybody, first of all. Maybe I don't know if anybody of my companions wants to talk. Is good. I can start by saying something about critical studies department. For example, how it was born. It was we were very sad, almost desperate during, even we were very aware of our privileges and really impossible to complain to condition, but we were sad anyway, and we felt that something was lacking, really thinking about the meaning of the school. We were feeling alone, very isolated, and we felt that our teacher could do every effort that they wanted to, but it was like a passage that we couldn't fight. And it was a situation that was changing. And so in a sort of sense, we had to adapt to it. And instead of fighting against it, we wanted to become a friend of the situation and started to think how to gather otherwise together, and to have a space, to create a space for us where to meet and to escape from a sort of formal language that we practice every day, and also this new habit of the grid of every day that we are seeing like now. And we wanted to transform it step by step, because we were not very aware of our condition at the first moments, because it was new for us, everything. And we also weren't aware of our psychological condition, also the fatigue. At first, there was the emergency. And so really, it was like being every day connected in every mean we could. And then some of us were very, very tired, very alone. And so we started to imagine something different. And what was lacking, maybe, it was, I don't know, something playful, like a fictitious department that was inside the school. But it was, of course, it wasn't real, because there is no critical studies department. But we could do it. If we decided that it could happen, it could. And so it was a turning point of the process to firmly want to affirm our position and existence, and start to create new spaces, new dialogues. And so we started with these little projects, also among us and during Andris lessons, where maybe we draw together, or we do some like playful things to stay together. And then also with the NABA school, we had a lot of, we are lucky because it's a very, I don't know, privileged school. So we had the possibility to follow some projects and to put some effort in it, to follow them. And but we try to collaborate in it, because it's not important who has the idea or who. I don't think that we don't want somebody to reclaim something, but it's a collaborative process to do it together. And if one can, then the person does what she or her, or I don't know, can. But if one person doesn't feel like, for any reason, has every right to stop and to rest, and no one is going to tell that doing this it's outside, is going outside the critical studies department. So it follows also our experiences, and it's built, I don't know, it's imagined to be a place where we can feel well. And so this is the idea that made all in movement. So this is a little bit to start. I don't know if somebody has something.
Yeah, thank you, Paola.
Nothing. But it was just a little bit to, sorry if I went too long.
No, that's okay. So I don't know, maybe, Nika, maybe we could think of how we can sort of put together these two initiatives and how they could coexist and actually facilitate one another.
So I think we can just write a statement about what, like we did during the carnival together, between, we just share a Google document between people from Museum of Care and you guys, and we write together a statement about education, what is that, what kind of map we want to do, and then we start from reaching out to different initiatives in the world and starting to put them up. And then in the first assembly, that will be in a month, hopefully we will invite people who can have a very brief talks, and then we choose these people, yeah, who can very shortly describe what are they doing. Like I imagine, like Elizabeth from San Francisco University, that was exactly like your department set up during the COVID, would be like the great person to invite, and so on and so forth. And then that will be kind of basis when we formulate the questions more clearly, like you formulate the questions more clearly. And that's also ideally will be set up for the future book and for the conference. And when we were talking about, we were thinking maybe in the end of July, we can do not a 1 hour assembly, but we can do longer, maybe a couple of hours with more elaborate talks of the people who we're going to invite, you're going to invite. So that's how I understand what could be this kind of research or also adventure about education. So from the Museum of Care side, I imagine we can invite all kind of strange people, you know, people who is not normally coming to the conferences about education, somebody who never come to these conferences even, but we also, yeah, would be happy to see some very established people. I love to watch this conference myself.
Yeah. What are the activities that actually, for the moment, like are still actively running of the Museum of Care? Like which reading groups? And so maybe we could think of I don't know if who organizes that is interested also to have some new members or not. Or
Vasily, maybe you describe the reading group.
Hi everybody. Yeah.
hello.
So I'm one of the people who organize the reading group we do. So we used to do it every 2 weeks. We may, as Anka mentioned, we may have a bit less meetings from now on. Initially, we were reading David's books and papers, and we are slowly moving on to reading other stuff, especially things about care. We have a long reading list, like a lot of things that we want to read. I can share that with you. I'll put that in the chat. And if you do have a reading group as well, we could think of we can think about merging it, or maybe having like I don't know, many other reading groups. There are some other initiatives actually. Yash wanted to do that. I don't know if Yash is no, he's not around. So yeah, what do you do? Do you have a reading groups? Do you have some reading groups as well at the critical theory thing?
Yeah, not yet, but I think people might be interested to join some of your groups. So I think that would.
Yash wanted to talk about, we all wanted to talk about Roy Bashkar and critical realism.
Yeah, we have a few reading groups schedules. One about Marshall Salins, who recently passed away. I think Ellen is here, so we wanted to do something. Ellen was going to host something. So about Marshall Salins in June. There is something about critical realism in June as well. And the next reading group is not exactly a reading group. It's something more like it's a book presentation, because we're going to have the author. And Nika, you probably know a little bit more about that, because I have to be honest, I didn't know the man before.
Yeah, so it's a book. It's an academic book, but it's a book about pirates. And David just wrote a book about pirates, and I'm in the process of finishing our book together about pirates. So that was one of these books on the reading list, pirate books. And I just talked to the guy, and he looks very cool. And he Yeah, and he agreed to facilitate, send a shorter paper, not the whole book, although his books are very popular, this Medieval Summer History. So that's one of the example. We slowly, actually, you can advise us because what happens, we were hosting this reading group that more looks like an open lectures. You know, when somebody like Alexei Yurchak, the star professor, is very cool, coming and talking about his amazing paper, but it's so many of us that we don't have time to actually deeply discuss in details, like I felt like this. So my inclination was to create a smaller group that we started to do, like maybe 5 up to 10 people, and go deeper in the subjects. Like if we're talking about critical realism, maybe we need more than an hour and more than one time to meet. Yeah, because we like I felt we become a little bit superficial in the kind of lecture style, 50 people attending, 300 people watching. So that's on YouTube. So we're also constantly changing, and we very welcome people who will come and tell us, hey, why wouldn't we do something else? Why wouldn't we host our reading group offline with in the Bombay antique shop? And you know.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Vasily, have you got anyone, have you made any progress with doing the Joe Freeman text, the one about unstructured organizations? Because it's on the reading list, but you didn't mention it just then when you were speaking.
Yeah, I think we need a facilitator for that one. And because we had so many groups scheduled, and our intention was to do a bit less, we had to cancel quite a lot. And I think this is one of the groups that has been cancelled, but mainly because we didn't have a facilitator, and yeah, and also because we had too many, unfortunately. But I was, you know, there is this idea that of having smaller reading groups. So we could also totally, you know, having a bit more if they are smaller, I mean, just everything is, but we've got many options basically.
Okay.
And Rob, if you want to facilitate the group about Freeman, I mean, you're welcome. I think I think someone else suggested this text. Who was it, Nika, again?
I don't remember. But I remember I wrote to the author, and she kind of, I think she said if your computer would be working, she would come and facilitate it herself. But she's like, yeah, she said she was complaining about the quality of her internet connection and her computer. Maybe we should fundraise and send her something. Yeah, that was my proposal. This is very important text.
It's a great text. If you could get the original author to come along, that'd be really cool. But I mean, yeah, no, okay. I hear what you're saying, Vasily. I don't know a facilitator for it. If I get any ideas, I know how to get in touch with you.
But what would you be interested to read, like Paola, for example? What is on your reading list?
You asking me?
No, you're from Museum of Care, but Paola just came here.
Oh, sorry.
So let's ask our guests, because we are now, you know, kind of meeting another tribe. That's cool. Let's see.
No, okay, I understand.
Okay, I have a super big amount of books that I would like to read. Maybe I was curious about one that is called Dangerous Liaisons, not the classical one, but it's about migrations and the Europe condition. I was interested, sorry, my explanation of the book is the worst possible, but I'm looking for it and put it in the chat. I was very curious about this particular book at the moment. But I don't know if it's okay.
And I thought that maybe one thing we could bring in, which was I personally found very interesting, because what Paula said in the very beginning, we tried also to think about, I think the reading groups are really a fantastic initiative, and you have already a lot of them, so I don't know if it would be good to bring in some more. But what we did was like some sessions where we tried to, for example, use like drawing or use some kind of other tools which are not just like, let's say, kind of classical academic tools, but which are like, let's say, can provide a different perspective. And that was, for me personally, also interesting, really like to depart from that, even though I'm not able to draw really, like, but to participate in this kind of collective thing. So that was interesting, and maybe we could think of really also a list of readings that to propose. I think, like during one of the meetings came to the fore also this idea of so how some of the books like appeared like on the chat, and so we could also contribute if you think this is useful, and. Maybe someone else, like I understood that Vasily explained very nicely about what are the other groups and how these initiatives are born. Let's say, do you discuss them just here, like during the assemblies, or then there is like something that is going on also afterwards, like just for us to understand and to understand how we could sort of join in and facilitate? And is it more linked to some kind of, I don't know, some schools or groups or people who are already like formed some smaller groups, so, and how many of these smaller groups are actually now there is one like there are some reading groups, and then what else like is actively going on apart these general assemblies? So maybe you could just share with us, not with me but also with the others who have joined in today, how it works.
Anka and I initially, but then Matt also and some other people we started this project called Decision Making, and we were filming interviews. And recently, Simona and Anka filmed the last interview. I don't know if it's online now. So we had a collection of these interviews, and now we were actually thinking what to do with them, and if Matt and I start to transcribe them. But it's a kind of a project that's now on a hold. So we actually very much need to fresh blood there, because we're stuck in it. I don't know, maybe Anka would want to say about this project.
Speaking, Anka, did you wish to talk? No. Speaking of it, last Saturday I attended a conference by Andreas Said and others. I think you know Andreas Said because it is
he's a
NADA.
teacher.
Yeah, and it was about militant ethnography. That is something David used to do, and in a way is what Anka and Nika did with this documentary about decision making, and in a way is something like what you are suggesting to do about education, in my opinion. So this is a filo rosso, a red connection that I like very much, and the project about decision making is going to an halt in the last month, just because when Nika is busy with other stuff, everything stops. But I would like very much to keep it going, and I also wish to interview Andrea, and maybe my next reading will be this. We cannot read it. So it's militant ethnographies by Stefano Boni, Alexander Künstler, and Amalia Rossi. They are really interesting,
And by the way, Amalia and Andrea are both teachers in our school, so we could sort of involve them as well. So yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we also had this project called Fight Club that we just discussed with Steve Bachelor. just in the beginning of assembly. And but we don't have any system, and you're welcome to propose the system, how to start it. It's basically the idea is this is a museum that's curated by the people who is in the museum. So the idea is like you come in and you immediately allowed to have a project. You don't have any committee who will tell you, no, wait a little bit, you're not ready yet, too stupid, or like go to that faraway corner. So that's because it's in this case we are not institution, we are online. To set up a room in the museum, it's not cost any money. You just set up the room and that's it, and use it. And then it's also very interesting to map the museum that doesn't have a center, that is kind of developing by itself. It's not clear if it will be developed by itself, but the original idea of Museum of Care was coming from Prolet Cult, from Alexander Bogdanov, and we would have a talk about once in a reading group in the beginning of Museum of Care, because that was a Soviet system that actually worked for many years until, like, even working partially now. It's called Houses of Culture, and then network of institutions that considered to be not a high culture. The high culture is like real museums, and this is houses of culture. But most of the, I don't know, math, chess, a lot of art, because it was not censoring coming from there. So the idea is just to do very egalitarian space where people, if they want, can set up something and provide the framework that will help to do that. So we just kind of, if you please come and say, we wanted to do this room, or we wanted to do that room, that will be fantastic. Anka?
I was thinking that, in fact, it would be interesting, since we were together for 1 year and we still in many ways don't really know what is Museum of Care. It's interesting to have, like you're in a house and you have guests who come and tell you about your house, and maybe that would be some kind of process for us as well to develop it further, and for you to, for curatorial teams to be to have this kind of multiple identities. I don't know, because I think in many ways we had many projects, so in a way I was thinking, oh no, another project, when you said about the map, because it's not like we have always ideas, there's so much going on. It's about how do we incorporate it in Museum of Care? How do we make sure that, it's fine when we have less people in an assembly to take decisions, but in the same time we have a mail list of 400 people that might miss out because they cannot meet on a specific day. What are the options for them? We were lucky, a few of us, that during winter we had a lot of time and we met in smaller groups. So in smaller groups we got to know each other and make friendships and find that we have things in common. But then there can be, so the idea I think initially was to have many rooms and people to be able to jump from one room to another, like in a big warehouse party, where you can just meet and find what is that you have in common and just start projects. So if you could help us with that, and it's very ambitious what we are asking, I guess, but
I think it's really cool when curators are generally invited to the museum. They're supposed to, kind of keep it up to the spirit of the museum. They're definitely not coming for the 2 months to change everything upside down. That would not be even considerate. So maybe this is a place where it's exactly a good thing to do, And that's I don't know, it's good. We can talk on the Google Doc about where you're definitely also invited, about continuity, how we can continue to keep what we have. But it's actually will be really great to have an active bunch of people coming and saying like, oh, I think the roof should be like 5 meters up.
So I was actually thinking of maybe like not to be this kind of guest that arrived to your house and revolutionize, but this is Nika, what you are kind of inciting us to do. All right. Yeah. No, I understand, and maybe we can really, of course, we can propose things, and it would be great, and I hope that now we will sort of really like manage also to sort of know each other a little bit better. Like it's my third or fourth time, and I still don't know everyone, so it's very exciting always to hear and to participate. And yeah, we can propose things, and we can think about like maybe we can sort of open up through Google Docs or somehow this also discussion of how. Because that was a problem of ours as well. Like, how do you manage this kind of horizontal decision making, which is very difficult and very labor intensive, and sometimes, like, yeah, how do you manage these like kind of big groups of people, and then, or how do you plan different events, and we didn't really came up with a structure. I think assembly is the best kind of way of how you can do it. Maybe I was proposing. Like we could do a kind of message board, or like where you put some pins or things. Okay, I'm doing this tonight, so who wants to join? So that was like the only idea. But I think this is something that we could discuss, and that's maybe we could find some new forms of how you can really manage these things. Because for the moment, yeah, this assembly is something that works in these kind of situations. And I was referring also to some of the Occupy experiences and these ideas that you have different kind of tables or working groups, and that then come together and then sort of refer. But maybe we can really write something about it and sort of propose as a kind of an idea, because it's always like a question of how do you actually organize, and it's not an easy question, like without really putting kind of hierarchical structures or something, like keeping it open, but at the same time, like just spreading the information okay.
So maybe I can put together two Google Docs, one for the statement to invite people for at the end of June for this educational assembly, and then another one for people from Museum of Care and you guys, just to navigate through this housekeeping and other duties, that how to form the group of people who will make sure that we continue and will not disappear. Because my problem also, I would not probably have an internet connection even for July. It's possible, because I will be in a fire island in July. But yeah, I hope like you guys can hold on for our precious community. And then I also hope we will can in 2 months make this big assembly for a couple of hours and invite really cool speakers and then do the book. But in September, whoever can come to Madrid, please come to Madrid for the street dinner and visual assembly and maybe Fight Club and all other amazing projects that we will come up during that next month. So.
Okay, so basically maybe we can just then somehow afterwards share some kind of addresses. I know with some key people from the core group and put them together like through emails, and then somehow decide how we can sort of manage things and share information, and then yeah, how to come up with agenda for next assemblies, but also how to maybe spread information about the existing reading groups and other initiatives that are already there if somebody wants to join in, if you are open to that. So that would be great.
Yeah, so maybe I'm just putting now in the chat how to sign up for the mailing list. I think that's the best, that's the easiest way, because I will just send for the mailing list the Google Docs if somebody else wants to join.
I would like to say, I think, but I don't know if I can. I can? Okay. No, I wanted to say that, for example, I am one of the 400 people that always reads the mails because I follow you from months. And for example, from my position, even if I didn't take part to anything, because basically I was too shy too, but for me it was really like oxygen, because really it was a bad moment. And so I was so happy that you existed, that really you gave me really enough like this, just reading. So that was what I wanted to tell you. So really I share your interest and love for the project. I know that you don't want this to die, to risk to die. And so even if we mistake something, just correct us, because it's important. That's it. On everything we have to do. Okay, just to start. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that's amazing. Thank you guys for coming. And yeah, let's. So the next big assembly is in a month, but we will have the reading group open lecture. How would we call it, Vasily, with the pirate guy about how the people make decision in the pirate ships in Pirate Republic and so on and so forth. Yeah, on the 17th of June. That's our next lecture.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so then have a good night, everybody. And oh yeah, Rob, maybe we can meet now on email and like go to Facebook. Yeah.
Rob is already out, but
okay,
you can email him.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Bye bye.
Okay, so thanks everyone, and then we wait for the documents and we keep in touch, and then we start just working somehow. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.